The first story I read to you was The Lobster and the Crab. That story was a fable. A fable is an imaginary or fun story written to teach a specific lesson. The lesson or moral is usually found at the end of the story. The lesson for The Lobster and the Crab was, even the taking of small risks will add excitement to life. A parable is a simple short story used to illustrate a truth. Jesus used stories to communicate spiritual lessons. Today I'm going to read a story by one of my favorite authors. Her name is Liz Curtis Higgs. Let's look at the cover, and you'll see that the main character is going to be the farmer, and you'll also meet the farmer's dog and see his garden, and you will see a truth at the bottom of each page written in tiny letters. I'm going to read this story to you now, but first I wanted to tell you that the reason Liz Curtis Higgs wrote this story was to tell a parable about a pumpkin patch. And the lesson is, if we have God's love in our hearts, the people around us will want to have that same love in their hearts. God's love is like a light shining from our hearts to other people. Now for the story. The Pumpkin Patch Parable by Liz Curtis Higgs, and the illustrator is Nancy Munger. See that big red barn and those rolling green fields? That's where the farmer lives, way out in the country. It's so far out, the streets don't even have stop signs. Can you look around and see where the pumpkins are in this picture? They're right there by the barn. The farmer grows lots of different things in those fields. He grows tall green corn and big red tomatoes, long yellow squash, and little green peas. People eat that stuff for dinner. When I was a girl, I got to shell the peas. There's a shell around the little tiny round peas, and that was one of my favorite things to do. Oh, I remember when my dad, who was a farmer of sorts, he was a gardener, he always had these seed packets. These are for pumpkins. And here's some more, probably a different type of seed maybe. The best vegetables the farmer grows are pumpkins. They start out as flat, oval seeds, almost as big as raisins. And you see he's at the store, and there's the cash register where he's going to pay for his seeds. There, they have some carrot seeds and tomato seeds down here. I don't know if he's going to get those or not. One hot June day, soon after school let out, the farmer planted pumpkin seeds just like he did every summer. You can see he's already done the places where the seeds are going to be planted. He had to do that. That's a lot of hard work to make those places where the seeds are going to go and hide in the dark soil. There are those oval white pumpkin seeds. The seeds disappeared into the ground in nice, neat rows and grew there in the dark all through the 4th of July. It's a big field. Look how far away the barn is. early morning, see the sun coming up, a tiny green shoot quietly poked its way out of the soil. Soon, a long green vine stretched across the ground. There it goes. See the vine. From that vine, little buds sprouted into wide green leaves. Wow, those are big. The leaves spread out flat to catch the August sun. Someday those little green buds would turn into big orange pumpkins, but not yet. The patient farmer waited and waited. The pumpkins began to grow. How different they looked. Some were tall and lean. Some were short and round. Some had lumps and bumps, but all of them were pumpkins. They're each unique. This one is sort of an oval or pear-shaped. I guess all his hard work is over now. He's relaxing on his porch. October came at last. The sky was bright blue and the air was getting cooler. Every night it got dark earlier than it did the night before. It was time for the farmer to harvest his pumpkin crop. And he had some workers. So here are a few other characters in this story. And it looks like they're lifting these pumpkins and maybe going to bring them down here to the farmer's house. The farmer's many workers brought lots of ripe pumpkins in from the fields. Which one would he choose first? Which pumpkin would you choose if you looked at all of the farmer's pumpkins? I like this big round one right here. The farmer picked up one large pumpkin, being very careful not to let it slip through his hands. Pumpkins are tough on the outside, but they break into smithereens if you drop them. He washed off all the dirt, holding on tight to the pumpkin. Next came the messy part. Pumpkins are full of dozens of seeds and lots of slimy pulp. The farmer had a special plan for his chosen pumpkin, so the seeds and the slime had to go. I see a tool here that I've seen at the store recently. In October, you see them some places so that people can cut the pumpkin open and get that slimy pulp and seeds out of the pumpkin. So here we go. He slowly slid the large knife right into the center of the pumpkin. The pumpkin didn't make a sound because vegetables don't talk. If they did talk, the pumpkin might have said, "Ouch!" It's like he took the little hat off of the pumpkin. Just cut a round circle, and now he's got his hand in there. Gently, the farmer cut a round hole in the top of the pumpkin and pulled on the stem. This is the stem. They're quite sturdy. You can pick that up and put it back on top of the pumpkin after he gets the slimy pulp out. Squishy, stringy pulp waited for him inside. Yuck. I've done this when I was teaching 3rd grade, and the children all were saying, "I don't want to do this. It's so slimy." And then we counted the pumpkin seeds once we got them out. The farmer pulled out all that slimy pulp and wrapped it up in an old newspaper. Off to the compost pile it went, never to be seen again. This is the compost pile. And oh, there you see the cat, the farmer's cat. Compost pile could have things like scraps from dinner, from the dinner table, things that you didn't eat, crumbs left over, and other things, eggshells, all sorts of things go in there. And now it includes the seeds from the pumpkins and the slimy pulp. Then something really exciting happened. The pumpkin got a new face. The farmer carved a triangle for each eye. Pumpkins have eyes that don't blink or turn away. They see everything. Here's one triangle and the other. And it's called carving. They carve or cut out. The farmer cut out the eyes. He neatly carved or cut them. A little square for a nose, and then a big, wide smile. What happened next was wonderful. The farmer put a small white candle down inside the pumpkin and touched the wick with a flame. Now that's the part you want to get your family or your parents to help you with if you're a child. How that pumpkin glowed once he lit that candle. As the sky grew darker, the pumpkin on the porch was shining brighter than ever. When people saw the smiling pumpkin, they smiled back. It made them happy. It made them feel excited. It made them enjoy the night, even though it was getting chilly and dark in the fall weather. There was a light shining on the farmer's porch. Now that looks so cozy. The farmer sitting there with his dog and his cat and his glowing pumpkin. All the neighbors knew that, once again, the farmer had turned a simple pumpkin into a simply glorious sight. In the same way, God the Father offers his children the chance to be made new, full of joy, full of light. They even shine like stars in a dark world. And as I said at the beginning, Liz Curtis Higgs wrote this story to tell you, if we have God's love in our hearts, the people around us will want to have the same love in their hearts. And we will be like stars shining in the dark sky at night. We will be shining the love of God to other people. I hope you enjoyed Liz Curtis Higgs' story, a parable, a pumpkin parable, about how we can share the love of God from our hearts to others.